365 Sports is brought to you by BetterHelp. Give online therapy a try at betterhelp.com/365 and get on your way to being your best self. What are some things you want to keep the same about yourself or your life in 2024? Were you already crushing it? Think opposite of New Year, New You. Around New Year's, we get obsessed with how to change ourselves instead of just expanding on what we're already doing right. Maybe you finally organized one part of your space and you want to tackle another, or maybe you're taking your supplements every morning and now you want to actually eat breakfast too. Therapy helps you find your strengths so you can ditch the extreme resolutions and make changes that really stick. BetterHelp.com is helpful for learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries. It empowers you to be the best version of yourself. It isn't just for those who've experienced major trauma. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Celebrate the progress you've already made. Visit betterhelp.com/365 today and get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/365.
Join me, 48 Hours correspondent Erin Moriarty, on my podcast, My Life of Crime, as I take on true crime investigations like no other. This season, I'm looking into the labyrinth of crime and secrets within families. I'm cutting straight to the evidence and talking to the people directly involved, including investigators and the families of victims. Listen to My Life of Crime with Erin Moriarty wherever you get your podcasts.
This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
Caroline, you should tell them about the newest thing that Bloody Happy Hour is doing.
A Patreon.
It's a Patreon. What is that?
That means you're basically like a VIP member, and you get some perks. You maybe get like merch a little earlier. You get
Exclusive merch.
You could get first dibs on signing up for a live show. You get episodes with no commercials.
You get our video because our video is no longer available on YouTube. It is only on Patreon, and the most important to me is you get videos of our live shows, but also bonus episodes each month. But if you're on a Patreon, you're VIP, you're going to get more.
Because I always have a lot of details I want to go to. I can law-splain. I might read a book.
This is also going to be the exclusive place that Dirty Chat is going to go to. In order to hear the full content, it's going to be Patreon. Where do they go again?
Patreon.com/BloodyHappyHour.
Hey y'all, I'm April.
And I'm Caroline.
And this
is your Bloody Happy Hour.
Caroline, are you ready for this?
This is your newest guilty pleasure.
It's the bloodiest part of your week.
Did we say something about it also being happy hour?
Show did.
Because we about to be sipping on some murder. Bloody Happy Hour.
Hey y'all, this is April.
And this is Caroline.
This is your Bloody Happy Hour. This is the real edition.
The real edition. We're real thirsty and we're real bougie and fancy. I don't know why we just are. Well, Rachel over here. I'm going to call her Rachel today because Rachel with the wet hair. She likes to leave her house with her hair wet because she is trying to be
on my list that we made in high school.
List
yeah.
Y'all,
I was just rushing. We're recording on an off day, and it's late in the afternoon. I don't know why I was rushing, but I just decided to wash my hair, 20 minutes before we have to be here. And I left the house with my hair wet, and I remember in high school, shout out to if you were in my art class in maybe sophomore, junior year, we made a list of things that make you trash.
I would say part of it
things
would
that
be
make you carnival trash and Cracker Jack trash, and I don't even know why we were doing this, but sorry, Miss Matthews, we were working on this list and not art. And one of them was if you leave the house with your hair wet, and you just show up with your hair wet, and so when I walked out the house, I was like, I officially made my own list.
You did. I'm pretty proud of you.
Oh, anyways. Okay.
Oh, I have a question. Can you tell me, did y'all ever do Elf? We didn't have Elf on the Shelf.
No.
Do you love it though? Don't you love seeing everybody's pictures?
No.
Oh, you don't?
No, I was just
Oh.
telling Caroline that.
Oh no.
You
don't like that?
I'm
they're
so
creative.
over
The ideas are so
Elf
creative.
on the fucking Shelf. I'm so over Elf on the Shelf. If I had a little kid, I would still not get Elf on the Shelf. It's ridiculous. And the elf is probably going to come alive and kill you guys at some point. Like, it's a little, that evil little thing. It's horrible. So Elf on the fucking Shelf, I need that to be over because I am over it. I am over it.
I mean, I like the idea of the elf getting like arrested.
The elf needs to have fucking consequences. Like, where's the mama that's like whooping the elf's ass? Get a little elf belt and whoop the elf's ass for, rub it. I saw one. It was like there's chocolate all over the toilet and the toilet paper. So it's supposed, and then like the elf's ass is in the toilet. So it looks like he got shit everywhere. So where's the ass whooping for the elf?
April, everybody sharts, okay? Even elves. Even
Where's
elves.
the ass whooping for the elf?
Well, and I have this friend who, she's white, her husband's black, and then one year it was like they had a white elf, and then the next year she sent a group text to the family like, I think she lost it. She's like, was our elf like white or brown? And then they were like, I don't know. So they had to she had to go buy a new elf, but she couldn't remember what color she bought. So I guess she bought the other color. And it was this whole conversation about the elf that she posted on the Facebook or whatever.
See?
And I'm like, this is too stressful.
It is. It is. And I believe in lying to your kids, but this is extreme.
This is extreme.
Like, stop it at Santa Claus. Keep that lie going.
Wait, what?
Keep that lie going. And then if you need me to sing my Santa Claus song to them, I will when you're ready for them to know the truth. But,
Oh, wait. What is that song?
bitch, we sing it every year. Ain't no Santa, ain't no Claus, ain't nobody but your ma and Paul.
That's it?
Yes. You do not have any recollection of. Remember, my father-in-law used to sing it when Trent and them were young.
Okay, because I was there.
But I say it every Christmas on the podcast.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
Anyways,
that's
if you're Elf on the Shelf with your kids, you're a red flag. I'm adding that to the red
add
flag
it to the list.
Yes.
Can we say what's the list?
I think the only red flag,
Cat.
the only Elf on the Shelf that may be
Utah.
okay is the Snoop Dogg one. There is a Snoop Dogg version.
Oh, that's different then. That's a different game.
Yeah.
It's like, where's the weed? I don't know. Nurses.
Elf on the Shelf.
Elf on the Shelf.
Private homeschool. That is the biggest red flag.
I mean, now, yeah.
So if you homeschool your kids and you do Elf on the Shelf.
What if you're a nurse
kids-
who lives in Utah with a cat and has Elf on the Shelf for their kids?
and your kids homeschooled?
And they're homeschooling.
We're going to be talking about you on a quickie real soon.
Speaking of last tangent, have you seen that HBO documentary, Love Has Won? Is that what it's called?
No.
It's a cult about this lady who thinks she's Mother God, and they have her taking this collided silver.
What's Mother God?
She is Mother God.
She made that up.
Yes, and she basically was taking this collided silver, which is something that's just, I don't even know what the hell it does, but she was saying she was going to die, and so she's taking the silver, but when she does die, Robin Williams is going to come back as, like, he's going to come back. He's going to rise again.
Oh.
And so then this bitch turns blue in the show.
Taking this silver?
Yes, or she turned it silver, but she looks
wasn't that
great.
Willy Wonka's chocolate factory and eating the blueberry?
Yes, she ate the blueberry. Love Has Won. Is that what I said it was called? Because that's what it's called. Yes. And she was known as Mother God in this cult. And I have not watched it, but I'm watching it tonight.
I'm going to watch that. And what I saw last night on Hulu is called Devil's Knot. And it's Reese Witherspoon is the mom of the West Memphis 3 little boys. So it's a story of the West Memphis
Was that
3.
a book or something?
The Devil's Not. I mean, I'm sure it probably
That
was.
sounds familiar.
But I don't know all the story. I just know that there's a question of the people that they arrested for
yeah.
the kids
Yeah.
that probably didn't do it.
I don't think they did do it. I thought it was like a stepdad of one of the girls. Or of one of the boys. Yeah,
They're
boys.
boys,
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else they should watch? There's going to be a long break here.
Yeah, I love his
Twin
one.
Fire. Is it Twin Flame?
Oh, Twin Flames. I got to watch that too.
Okay.
So we might have to do some cults episodes. or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
We do need some
People
cult
loved our
episodes.
cult episodes.
But now we're going to Arizona, where one of the cult ladies lives now. That's her new home and prison there. It's Lori Vallow. But I'm assuming that's not where we're going today.
We are going to Arizona, but it's not a cult. And again, Swippy sends me these random stories that he gets on Twitter, and he sent me this story. I was going to do Cameron Todd Willingham because that name came up in my Ed Graff story.
Yeah.
Remember, there was two dads that were in jail for burning up their kids. Well, Cameron Todd Willingham is the one that got put to death, but came out thinking that he probably really didn't do it. So I wanted to do that one, but I just didn't want to burn up any kids yet. Like, it was just too close. So I will do it before we forget about Ed Graff, but I had to move to another story. And this one is sad, but it's not burning up kids. It's a little different.
Yeah.
So let's go to Arizona, and this is 2005, so kind of recent. And I don't even want to tell you what kind of story it is. I want you to see if you can make some connections. Let's see if you're in the FBI after this episode. So let's talk. This is May 17, 2005 in Arizona. 39-year-old Tony Mendez hopped on his bike because he went to go help a family that he knows had got their electricity shut off, and it's in Arizona in the summer, and so it's really, really hot. And Tony didn't have money to really help them monetarily, but he was like, I have all this extra bottled water, and I have some candles, and they have kids. I don't want these kids sitting in the dark. Mm-hmm. So he hopped on his bike and his backpack, and he told his roommate, Ricky, he was like, roommate, BRB, I'm going to go help out this family. I'll be back. So he's going to do this great deed. And roommate Ricky's just outside, and another neighbor comes up. This is like a little bit, maybe about 30 minutes, an hour later. Another friend comes up and says, hey, I was just coming to check on you because I just heard that somebody on a bike got shot. And I know you and Tony ride your bike a lot. Where's Tony? And Ricky was like, he left to go help this family. So Ricky got on his bike, rode down the way Tony was supposed to go, and he saw cops, and he saw a dead body, and he recognized the bike, and it was his roommate, Tony. So Tony had got shot in the back, and it pierced straight through his heart, and he died immediately. And the police determined it was a .22 caliber shotgun rifle.
God.
Bullet, shell, whatever. And that's usually used for hunting small game. So maybe dove or
sounds right.
Hogs. I don't know what small game is. Foxes? Ducks, maybe.
And now a word from our sponsors. .365 Sports is brought to you by BetterHelp. Give online therapy a try at betterhelp.com/365 and get on your way to being your best self. What are some things you want to keep the same about yourself or your life in 2024? Were you already crushing it? Think opposite of New Year, New You. Around New Year's, we get obsessed with how to change ourselves instead of just expanding on what we're already doing right. Maybe you finally organized one part of your space and you want to tackle another, or maybe you're taking your supplements every morning and now you want to actually eat breakfast too. Therapy helps you find your strengths so you can ditch the extreme resolutions and make changes that really stick. BetterHelp.com is helpful for learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries. It empowers you to be the best version of yourself. It isn't just for those who've experienced major trauma. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Celebrate the progress you've already made. Visit betterhelp.com/365 today and get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/365.
This episode is brought to you by Marvel Studios Echo. All episodes streaming January 9th, only on Hulu and Disney+. Rated TV MALV. Viewer discretion advised. Maya Lopez has betrayed her mentor, the notorious Kingpin. Now on the run, she returns to her hometown to prepare for the biggest fight of her life. Don't miss Marvel Studios' hardest-hitting series yet. An epic 5-episode event. Marvel Studios Echo. All episodes streaming January 9th, only on Hulu and Disney+.
But police question Tony's friends and family just to see if he might have had any enemies, and he didn't. Like nobody could think of anybody that would want to hurt Tony. So police are just kind of like, we're not sure what's going on. It's random. Is this a drive-by? Was he targeted? What is it? 1 week later, a guy named Reginald Ramiller, he was a Vietnam veteran. He was suffering from schizophrenia, and he lived on the street, so he was homeless. Now, he wasn't like the type of homeless where his family, like he didn't have any family. Like his family would try to get him to come and live with them and get help, but he just was tied to the streets. On this day, the family had finally convinced him to go to this assisted living home. So they got his belongings and they were taking him to this assisted living center. And when they stopped at a red light, Reginald just got out and took off because he really wasn't ready to go in this assisted living center. Mm-hmm. And the next time he was seen was on his bench that he would normally sleep on, and he was slumped over. He was bleeding. He was shot in the throat by a .22 rifle. The bullet had severed his carotid artery, but he lived. He went to the hospital, but died 6 days later. So, .22 caliber. This is about 1 a.m. in the morning that he was found, and one of the witnesses said that they saw a light-colored sedan speed away after the gunshot. Okay.
Mm-hmm. I'm assuming the guy didn't see who'd shot him in the neck.
No, they just saw a light-colored sedan speeding away at that time, around the same time of the gunshot. Mm-hmm. Now, police were questioning the people that knew him. He was homeless and he was dealing with mental issues, but he was harmless and he was loved, and they just couldn't figure out who would want to hurt him either. So they're figuring out that this crime may not really have a motive because he really don't have any enemies. So any thoughts yet?
Were the both of them homeless?
No. Tony lived with his roommate, Ricky.
Okay.
So now here's a 20-year-old named David Estrada. He came from a wealthy family. His dad was a lawyer. But at 17 years old, when he was 17 years old, his prominent lawyer dad was arrested and disbarred for fraud. And his life totally changed. Mm-hmm. And this was hard for David to deal with. So he started having mental health issues and eventually started to live on the streets. Mm-hmm. So on June 29th, 2005, so this started in May, now it's the end of June, we're in Tolleson, Arizona. A family was leaving Jack in a Box, probably getting some great Jack in a Box tacos. Mm-hmm. And when they drove out of the drive-thru, their headlight revealed a body on the sidewalk, like spread open. They called 911. When the police got there, the person was dead with a .22 caliber bullet. He had cash around his body, and this was David Estrada, the 17-year-old whose dad was a lawyer.
What?
Now, while they're at that call, police get another call saying that somebody's horse was randomly shot in the head by a 22 caliber rifle. Bless you, bless you, bless you.
A horse was also okay.
A horse was shot.
Okay.
And then within the next couple weeks, more calls came in with random dead animals. A house, if they have a neighborhood dog, their dog would be shot.
It's
random
going
dogs,
backwards.
random cats,
I'm
random
pissed.
cows,
I'm pissed.
random horses, and even a burro, a donkey, was shot.
A boodle.
Burro, B-U-R-O.
Burro? Oh, you were speaking in Spanish.
Was shot by a 22, all 22 calibers.
Who is this? The 22 caliber serial killer?
I know. That's what we got a 44 caliber guy.
Who?
That's David Berkowitz, 44 caliber man.
Oh,
Son of Sam.
Son of Sam.
Mm-hmm. So now it's November, so it's still progressing. On November 11th, 2 dogs were shot, and a 13-year-old was outside of his home playing with his dog, and a light-colored sedan pulled up, rolled down the window, put a shotgun out the window, shot his dog that he was playing with, and drove off. At least they didn't kill the 13-year-olds. 15 minutes later, okay, a guy named Nathaniel Schaffner was in the front yard, and he was having some beers on his front porch, living the life, when a light-colored sedan pulled up with a shotgun.
Oh, no.
And the shotgun was hanging out the window. But Nathaniel had a couple drinks, and maybe he was just about it, because Nathaniel hopped off that porch, ran up to that car, and says, "What the fuck are you doing, you Bill Clinton-looking motherfucker?" I had to put that quote in there. The shooter in the car argued with him, tried to shoot him, but the gun jammed up. Why Nathaniel didn't take off running at this time, he didn't, because he continued to talk shit.
Oh.
And there was a second guy in the car that was arguing with the shooter. One of them wanted to leave. One of them wanted to stay and finish the job. Ultimately, Nathaniel was shot. And he was just dead, like lying there in the ditch kind of in front of his house.
Nathaniel was a little too DTF.
I think so. 1 hour later, a cop just got off shift, and he lived near Nathaniel. And on his way home, he saw Nathaniel lying in a ditch.
Oh, my gosh.
Now, this cop was not DTF enough.
Oh.
Because he just rolled down the window, looked at him in the ditch, and said, "Oh, he's drunk and passed out." And he just called it in, and he went home. Oh. He was like, "I'm off. This isn't my business. Let me go home." So when the police showed up, they looked at him and said, "Oh, yeah, he's drunk. We smelled the beer." So they didn't even touch him. They didn't try to wake him up. They just called the EMT. When the EMT finally got there, they rolled him over, and there's blood all in his chest and a bullet wound. And they had realized they smelled beer because the bullet had also went through his beer, yeah. So he must have just had his beer like right here, holding it close to him, and when he was shot, it went through his beer can through his chest. But I guess it didn't come out on the other side because the cops didn't see any blood on the back.
Yeah.
He was rushed to the hospital, and he died the next day. And I would just be so pissed because he could have gotten help an hour and a half earlier if the first cop gave a little bit more of shit.
Mm-hmm.
So now these shootings were all happening in Arizona, some Phoenix, but some of the like surrounding areas. So it was like different maybe jurisdictions, different police departments. So like where we could clearly hear a pattern, 22 caliber. Police aren't connecting the dots as of yet.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's December 29th, and it's about 7 p.m., and a female student was leaving her college class, and she walked to her car, and her car was full of bullet holes. It looked like somebody had just used it for target practice. But what was crazier, the student had just gotten to Arizona because she had fled an abusive relationship and she was in the witness protection program.
Oh, shit.
So she was
she's
thinking,
like, oh, hell.
he done found
He
me.
done
My
found
ex-husband found me. So she panicked because she thought it was her ex. She called the police. Police relocated her immediately, and she had to get a whole new life, whole new identity somewhere else. They'll later find out that it was not her ex at all. It was a serial killer. That same night on December 29th, a chiropractor was locking up his clinic and his windows were shot out. He saw a light-colored sedan. He wasn't shot, so he was able to give police a description of the car. And later that same day, so December 29th, they were just really trying to end the year strong. Little Timmy was walking home from work. And he just felt pain in his back, and he thought maybe he had a cramp, and then he thought maybe he was having like a heart attack. His feet got weak, his legs couldn't move, but he pushed through and walked home and discovered that he had a bullet in him. But he survived because wherever he walked to, they called 911. He went to the hospital.
Wow, it's so weird, the body, how it works.
Yes.
How he's shot and just doesn't even know it and is walking around, even though.
And 2 more bodies were found that night. Jose Ortiz and Marco Carrillo. They were both homeless and transients, but no one came to claim their bodies. So finally, the police are thinking, could we have a serial killer? These shootings have to be related.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're all .22 caliber pistol or shotguns. They have to be related.
Yeah.
So maybe now they're going to start talking to these other police departments. So it's midnight on December 30th. A sex worker gets shot when she approaches the car. She was not able to give much of a description because she lives.
Oh.
They shot at 5 dogs this night, killing 2 of them. And like, these aren't just like stray dogs on the street. They're going through neighborhoods, and if there's a dog in your backyard or in your front yard, they are just shooting them.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. So now the police are talking. They're testing the bullets. They're connecting the dots, and they realize that this has gone on for so long because most of these victims were not top priority victims. They are the transients and the homeless. Mm-hmm. Some people didn't claim their bodies, but some you just kind of don't really pay attention to when it's on the news. But they were like, it's not too late. We're going to hold a press conference and we're going to warn everybody to beware. So they get on this press conference and we have an active serial killer. They were deemed the Phoenix serial shooter. The Phoenix serial shootings. And they want everybody to beware. Don't be outside unless you have to. Be aware of your surroundings. And so there was a hiatus where there was no killing for months.
Oh.
In April of 2006, America's Most Wanted aired.
Ooh.
And so now it's really out there. And that next month, after a 5-month hiatus, a 17-year-old was shot when he left to get his mom some milk from the corner store. He heard a gunshot. He saw blood on himself. It's like they don't always immediately know that they got shot because it happens so quick.
Yeah.
He looked down, saw blood on his body, and he was able to stagger to a nearby hotel. They called the police and the ambulance, and he ended up living. Wow. 2 miles later, a 19-year-old.
How many people?
I know. She was on her way home from work, and she usually takes the bus, but she missed it. She had to walk home, and she was shot and killed.
And go ahead.
Oh, no. Go ahead. What you got?
No, I was just like, are these all in the same like vicinity and like happening pretty close to each other in time as well?
Yeah, so on the ones on the same days, they're like happening some like blocks over, streets over, like in the same town. But the ones that are happening on different days, it may be Phoenix, it may be, I don't know, Tucson, it may be all these other little different cities. but it would still be like Central Texas.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
like
like to me, close
Robinson,
enough.
Woodway,
Yeah.
McGregor,
Or like
whatever.
Temple and Waco.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
somewhere closer. I mean, somewhere that's further away but still close. I would think that
Yeah.
would be able to be linked.
Yeah.
The 1 year anniversary it's May 17th, so they've been doing this for a year. And they switched it up a little bit. Timothy Davenport was walking when a car passed him, and then it turned around really quick, and it came up to him, and it rolled down the window. The car rolled down the window and said, "Are you okay?" And Timothy was just confused. And then somebody came behind him and stabbed him a whole bunch of times in the back, in the torso, and in the face.
Ow.
This person, and then somebody in the car was yelling, "Stab him some more, stab him some more, stab him some more." Timothy was able to run. It's like that adrenaline, fight or flight.
Yeah.
Jumps in. He was able to run. He ran to a friend's house and he got help, but he ended up having a collapsed lung and lost 8 pints of blood, but he lived. And he was able to identify or remember what the driver looked like to give a little bit of a description.
Finally.
The rest of that summer, 8 more people were killed.
How many total is this? 27?
We have 12 dead, 18 wounded, 10 animals dead, and a lot more animals injured.
I can't even do that math. That's too many. That's
It's
just
a
too
whole
many.
lot.
It's just too many.
And the police put out a $100,000 reward for this shooter. And about this time, there's a break in the case, finally. So a guy named Ron Horton was drinking at a bar with his friend named Samuel.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Samuel got drunk and began to have diarrhea at the mouth. And he was crying. And he was crying because he felt guilty because him and a friend had killed all these people.
Oh my gosh.
And he felt so bad about it. What? And Ron was at first like, he's drunk. I don't know if I believe him. But I think like the next day, somebody else was killed, and that made Ron go to the police because he saw that $100,000 reward. He was about his money. So he told the police, and the police were like, okay, we need you part of our team. We need you to work with this. Mm-hmm. We want you to call Samuel and arrange to go hang out at the bar again for some drinks. Police were going to stake out in the parking lot an unmarked car, and they were in the parking lot. Ron was inside, and a light blue Toyota Camry pulled up. The plates were registered to a Dale Hausner, okay? And Samuel got out and went inside and had drinks. They followed the car to the nearby mall. And when Dale got out and went to the mall, they put GPS under his car. So now they have a car that kind of has fit the description. They have a name of the guy that the car's registered in. When Samuel got done drinking at the bar with Ron, he called Dale to come back and pick him up. So now they get to follow Dale and Samuel in the car. They have like 9 unmarked cars around the area. So like one will follow him for a little bit, they'll turn off, and then another one will pick him up. So I feel like they're being really smart about it. One will follow him for a little bit, they'll turn off, and they'll pick him up. At one point, they did not go home. They were just driving around the city, and they saw him go into the trunk and get a gun bag out of the trunk. Oh, so they were just, stomach was sick, and they were worried that they're about to just randomly shoot somebody.
Yeah.
The other cars that weren't following them, if they saw people out, they would get out. They would tell them to go in, take cover, do not leave, because the shooter may be active real soon. So they were trying to save as many people as they can. Mm-hmm. Now, Dale and Samuel did not end up shooting anybody. They just ended up going home. Oh. And so the police got a okay for some emergency wiretaps. Still DTF. So they went to the apartment next door to where Dale and them were, and they wiretapped it. So I guess that's where you are close enough and you can hear all the conversations that's going on in the next room without having anything bugged in that room.
Oh, yeah, I guess. They put stuff on the walls.
Yeah, maybe like through the walls and through the vents. So they were listening, and the conversation was pretty gross.
Pretty gross.
I mean, it was just like they were so excited about being serial killers. They were watching the news, and they were excited about all the killings that they have done.
Oh, my gosh.
They laughed. They would reminisce about some of the victims that they shot and would laugh at the victims' faces right before they were shot, and bragging about when they ambush them from the back, like when they're turned around, they shoot them from the back, how they just fall down dramatically because they don't know what's coming.
What?
They also hear TV going on in the background, and the Jungle Book was playing, the movie Jungle Book, because Dale has a daughter there. And they even hear him put his daughter to bed, and his daughter said, "Daddy, don't kill anybody today, please."
What?
And Dale says, "Well, okay, because you asked." Well, they will not get a chance to kill anybody because they were arrested that night. Samuel had to go throw out the trash at the dumpster. SWAT surrounded him. Samuel surrendered without a fight and then gave them the key to the apartment where Dale was. Police snuck in and arrested Dale. So now we have both alleged killers in custody.
Mm-hmm.
And Samuel is talking because he's the one that kind of felt guilty, maybe. And so he's diarrhea at the mouth. But let's learn who these people are real quick. Dale was born in Nebraska in 1963, and he had a troubled childhood and a horrible tragedy as an adult. He was married and used to live in Texas. And in 1974, his wife and his kids were driving home. His wife was driving, and she fell asleep at the wheel and drove their car into a river. This is Dale and his wife when they lived in Texas. Dale managed to get out, but he immediately dove back in, trying to get his two boys that were strapped in their car seat out of the back seat. He tried repeatedly, and he couldn't get them out. And so he was unable to. The car sank further and further, and the little boys ultimately died. He got out, and the wife got out, of this car. And their marriage just couldn't survive this, so they divorced, because he blamed her. But reconnected like a year later and immediately remarried.
Okay.
But then he was whooping her ass. So he really remarried her to like whoop her ass because he blamed her for killing the kids.
Oh, gosh.
So she got that marriage annulled, and he harassed her for a little bit, but then she was questioned, and she agreed that he was a great dad. He ended up having a kid by another lady, and that's where he had that daughter that was in the house watching Jungle Book.
Oh, yeah.
So those two boys died. He had another daughter, and he was a good dad to this daughter. I mean,
clearly they were talking about all the murders
Yeah.
that he's doing.
he worked as a freelance photographer and a self-proclaimed sports writer. And so he met some famous people, which we have an interview by one of these famous athletes that he met. That this is the reason why I found this story. He also worked as a bartender and a custodian at the airport. He had done a TV commercial, and he had a public access TV show. So he wasn't like too much of a loser. He was a loser, but he was a productive person, I guess. Worked, had a decent job. Mm-hmm. He also ran a lucrative shoplifting service.
What?
He would take orders from people, like their liquor orders, musics, like CDs or movies, and he would go and steal it and then sell it back to them for a discounted price. So if I said, hey, go get me a bottle of Patron, if he stole me a bottle of Patron, he might only charge me $30 for it.
Yeah.
So he made money off of things that he stole.
Good for him.
He was also a ladies.
He's an entrepreneur.
Yeah. He was also a ladies' man. He dated multiple women. He didn't have Hinge back then. I don't know what they had. And he would keep detailed journals about his dates, like detailed. And he later said because he had to have a way to keep the women straight. So if he was going out on a second date, he would go and refer to his journal and
say, "Oh, Samantha likes this."
Yeah. Pretty smart, actually.
Yeah.
These women weren't bad looking, and they were pretty like productive and professional. One of them had their doctorates. So, I mean, maybe he got around.
Yeah.
Now, Samuel was a little bit different from him. He was born in Minnesota in 1975. He married and fathered a child, but that didn't last very long. He worked as an electrician by trade, but was unable to hold down a job because he couldn't stop doing drugs. So he ended up unemployed and homeless, and he moved in with Dale's older brother, Jeff. Now, Samuel and Jeff would go and they would steal bottles of booze and get drunk. That's like what they did for fun. But when Jeff introduced Dale and Samuel, they became friends really quick because they both could steal really, really well. So they decided to start an enterprise. They joined, like they got Dale's lucrative business, and then the way that Samuel steals, they were earning a lot of money from the shoplifting business that they were calling it their enterprise.
I love it. They're so just, inventive and just.
I mean, they could have stopped here, but they were also so bored that they became very destructive and would do stupid vandalism. So they would like go gambling, and then when they left out of the casino, they were just slicing random people's tires, or they would just set random fires to like the palm trees outside or to people's trees in the front of their house. They just seemed real, maybe bored.
I guess. Like, what is that?
Like they were just they were untreated ADHD is what I think. They also would just go into Walmarts and set fires inside the Walmarts just for shits and giggles.
And nobody ever got caught on this?
They had got caught on one of the cameras, but they didn't know who they were yet. They just had a face. So if it was these days, their name, they would be on like the McLennan County mugshots page of.
I love that.
Do you know this person?
I just love that page, by the way, in case anybody out there is wondering.
Yeah, it's a great page.
Yeah.
Unless you've been featured on it.
Yeah, I mean.
Now, okay, so back to the arrest. So that's who they were. They were idiots. They've just got arrested. In their apartment were some clippings of newspaper articles. And of course, it's the newspaper articles that had to do with what they were doing. So their name, the Phoenix serial shooters. So it's all over the wall. But also, they had clippings of the baseline killer articles. The baseline killer. So at this time, so in 2005, 2006, there were 2 active serial killers in Phoenix, Arizona area working at the same time.
Ooh.
2. Like, what are the odds? And they were both known. Like, they knew that here's these people over here shooting. And the baseline killer was a black serial killer. He was a serial rapist, but I don't know what else he did, because I'm probably going to have to just cover him too, since it's just linked.
Yeah.
But what they were doing is competing with the baseline killer.
Yeah.
So if there was
then they get pissed at each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I think there's a Criminal Minds about this too.
So
if there was an article or something came on the news about the baseline killer struck again, they would go out and they would try to like match the number or double it or something.
Yeah.
So they were competing. I just couldn't imagine being alive in 2005, 2006 in Phoenix, Arizona area, knowing that there's 2 serial killers operating around me at the same time.
And one of them shooting just
randomly.
Random.
So, yeah. Like, you could be pumping gas. You could be walking your dog.
Yeah.
They would shoot either you or your dog.
And probably, yeah.
So, and then this wasn't long ago. This was in the 2000s. And I've never heard of either one of them.
No, me either.
So, Samuel's telling it all, right, at the police department. And he said that the brothers were doing the shooting together. But they decided to stop. And then that's when Dale started bringing Samuel along. And Samuel confessed to shooting 2 people total. He shot the sex worker and he shot another guy. He even said that Dale would park sometimes and get out and go watch the person die if there was nobody around. So he would make them get out and they would offer their services like, oh my goodness, do you need help? Do you need help? But not do anything and just watch them die. That's pretty horrible.
Wow.
They're both in jail, and Dale attempts suicide by hoarding over-the-counter meds that were given to him. So he hoards them, and he takes them all at once, but he doesn't die. He just attempts suicide.
Oh, my gosh.
So in April 2008, Sam pled guilty to the 2 murders that he took part in, and because he said after that, he would deliberately miss. So he would shoot, but deliberately miss or aim for the animal because he didn't want to kill any more people. This was Samuel's story. So he was working with the police so that they can get the others. He had to stand trial and he had to testify against Dale to avoid the death penalty. In May, they connected Dale's brother Jeff as a conspirator. So Samuel said Jeff did most of the shootings, but the only thing that they can link him to was the stabbings. Remember the boy that they stabbed, and then they did another victim like that. There were 2 stabbing victims, and they just didn't have enough evidence to prove Jeff to any of the shootings. September 2008, Dale was on trial, and he had 8 counts of attempted murder, 25 counts of drive-by shootings, 27 aggravated assaults, 18 counts of first-degree murder, 9 counts of cruelty to animals, 3 firearm charges, 2 conspiracy charges, and 1 arson charge.
That's it?
Arson, yeah. The trial lasted 7 months.
Oh, my gosh.
Yes.
What?
Because you have to do every single one of those counts. That poor freaking jury. Like, can you imagine being on jury
actually,
for 7 months?
Yes, I can, because in the Young Thug trial, YSL, and it's this big RICO case, it took them 11 months to pick the jury. And that's a whole nother deep dive, because they had one of the bailiffs or whatever went to jail, or one of the defense attorneys went to jail, and somebody else had to write a paper for acting up, and then somebody else was handing Percocet to somebody, and they had to go to jail.
Wow.
And then now that it's finally started, it's a shit show, because it's like 10 different defendants or whatever, and so there's the opening statement from the prosecution, which is the state. Then they have the opening statement from defense, from Young Thug, and then from Gunna, and then not Gunna, different, all the different people. And so each case they're all being tried together in this room, and it's just chaos. And the prosecutors are shady, and they're like,
that's too much.
Oh, it is. They actually had to put it on pause for last week. They put it on pause until January because one of the defendants was stabbed in prison.
Oh, shit. Well. I know the name. I know Young Thug. I've heard of Gunna. I'm pretty sure that Trenton listened to all the music, but
Young Thug was recent. In a lot of, yes, he's in a lot of popular songs with,
Yeah.
like, just like with Drake, Rihanna, and he has a bunch of songs that you
Wow.
would recognize, but yeah.
Wow. Okay. So trial lasted 7 months. He was found guilty, but not of everything because it was just hard to prove every single one of them. And he was eligible for the death penalty. His defense didn't let him testify, but he did address the jury. And when he addressed the jury, he compared himself to Manson. And he says, when you think of Manson or some of these other, popular serial killers, you'll think of Hausner. But it's like, no, nobody knows who you are. I accidentally found you because you're connected to a professional athlete. In a second, we're about to hear this. So, never heard of Hausner. Never heard of the Phoenix serial shooters.
Nope.
But
Zero.
you know why? It's uninteresting. Like, you just shoot.
You just
Random. Like, there's no MO. Your pattern is the same gun, but that's stupid. But, like, it's just uninteresting.
Yeah.
So, that's why nobody knows who you are. So, that was his testimony. He obviously was given the death penalty. Jeff Hausner, so his older brother, got 11 years for one of the stabbings, 18 years for the other stabbings, and he was already in jail for 7 years for stabbing that he did. So he was just Stabby McStabberston.
Stabby McStabberson.
July 2009, Samuel was finally sentenced because he had to go through the trials of all of them because he had to testify. He was the narc. He was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole, which to me, I feel like to Samuel, like he was homeless. He was on drugs. He was a transient. Like, this is giving him stability. It's giving him somewhere to sleep every night. He's getting like 3 square meals. So it's probably not that bad of a punishment to him.
If I was homeless, I would probably rather be in prison too.
Yeah. And then in 2013, on June 5th, 2013, Dale overdosed in prison on an antidepressant that he got from another inmate.
Well, good for him. But
Yeah.
he didn't die? Or he's the one who did die?
Nope, he died.
Oh,
He
well.
overdosed and died in prison. So he attempted one time when he first got arrested, and then he got some random, which is like, what antidepressant can you overdose on? Well, he found one. I didn't get the name.
I heard about healthcare.gov and how easy it
This
was.
is how, hold on. This is how I found, or Soupy sent this to me, and I kept mentioning, remember I said that Dale was tied to a, shit.
got clicking and clicking and clacking and everything.
Okay, so Soupy sent this to me, and it only caught my eye because he was attached to a famous athlete because he was a sports writer and he was a photographer. So he met a famous athlete, took a picture with this athlete outside of one of the venues. And I'm just going to play it and let's see if you can recognize this athlete's voice. When you recognize it, I'll show you the video.
I'm in Phoenix. I'm working in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm working out. And it's Ramadan. And I'm not working out, but I'm just doing an interview. And I'm doing an interview with this guy. And I'm talking a little scared. He got very little hands. You know those little white guys with small little hands. And he's nice. And some guys were picking on him. And I said, yo, chill out. Leave him alone. You know, I got my Ramadan stuff on. I think I'm religious. So I come over, I'm talking to him and stuff. He's very tiny, petite little guy. Thank you. And thank you, sir. And then he leaves. I do the interview. 2 or 3 days come by. SWAT has the whole gym surrounded. I'm like, wow. And because I went out the night before, and I'm saying to myself, who ass did I grab? Shit, why is SWAT here? And then I said, hey, if I grabbed my ass, it wouldn't be the feds here, right? So I'm saying, what the hell did I do? So they come in, and they show a picture of me and this guy shaking hands. And I'm saying, fuck. This guy probably have a lawsuit. I must have did something that got this guy nervous or something. And he said, do you know this guy? And I said, well, listen, I was promoting a fight, and I must have got a little animated, and he may have gotten scared. If anything happened, I'm just sorry. I didn't mean to. And then he snatched the picture back. No, Mr. Tyson, he liked you. He didn't like the 20 people he shot and the 8 that he killed.
What?
Wow, he was the baseline shooter. He was a serial killer. He was a boxing writer, too.
The skinny little white guy that you were...
Mike Tyson and serial killer. Check that out. No, really.
The skinny little white guy you were describing?
Yeah.
Patrick Bet David? That's that show he's on?
David Hausner?
Yeah, check him out. That little fucker, right? Look at his hands. Look at it. No, I'm serious, man. Y'all laughing. Look at his hands. He's a little small. Look, he looks like...
Yeah.
In the interview, so, Mr. Tyson, oh, my God, I'm such a fan. I'm like, looking, it's okay, brother. Don't worry, nobody's going to fuck with you. And look, they were fucking with him outside. You know what I mean? I said, don't worry about it. I got you. And I thought something happened, you know.
And he turned out to be a mass murderer?
Yeah, he shot 28 or something, but he killed 8.
Rob, scroll down and see the story.
Find out how many people he killed. He killed 8, but I know he shot around 20 of them. Dirty motherfucker. And he committed suicide in prison, so I guess that turned out great.
He committed suicide in prison.
Yeah.
So you met a lot of weird cats.
Listen.
Would this guy be at the top? 29 people he shot, 8 he murdered.
What?
Yeah.
Listen, this is my life. Listen, I must draw these kind of people because I'm in Australia, right? And I'm taking pictures with people, right? And one side of me, after they get the picture, I got the Aryan guy right here, the big beard.
So
he's so hard to listen to. God.
And then he had it all mixed up. It's okay. He's probably got brain damage. Yeah. He said the baseline shooter, but that's 2 different serial killers. There's the baseline serial killer, and then there's this Phoenix serial shooter. So stay tuned for the baseline later.
Was that recent, that show?
That podcast? I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Maybe. Let me see.
I just know the guy I know the show, Patrick Bet David.
7 months ago.
Oh, okay.
So more recent than that. So there is
the famous serial killer that you never heard of.
That you never heard of.
Too
that
bad
compared
for him.
herself to Manson.
How about that lady who got out that was one of Manson's followers and she killed these people and she just gets to get out after 56 years or whatever?
I guess so.
Wow.
I guess so.
Could you imagine, what do you do? You're like, everything's changed. 50 years?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
I'll be like, just put me back.
Just put me back in there.
I mean, you live there. That's
the norm for you.
I know.
So did you feel sorry for Dale? Okay. Dale's the one that's kids drowned in the car.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, his whole life changed. But you would think that would make him have sympathy, I guess, and not hate everybody in the world.
I mean,
to where you just go and just randomly shoot people.
And are we sure he didn't really try to get them out of the car?
Well, his wife and people, from what I read, his wife and people testified to, were the witness to him attempting and trying. But it was just too late. You got 30 seconds. These are babies.
Toddlers. She fell asleep driving.
She fell asleep at the wheel. And drove into went off the road and went to a river.
I guess it was real fast that it happened. He couldn't pull the wheel and I don't know. That part, I thought it was going to be something with that. It was seeming kind of shady and just like a Susan Smith situation here. I don't know.
Well, it seemed just like he was maybe a normal. His childhood wasn't great. And he had a lot of undiagnosed things. So that was probably just his excuse to push him over the edge. He was probably going to do something stupid anyways.
Yeah, probably.
But I did feel sorry for him because I think if there's anything to push you over the edge, it's watching maybe your 2 toddlers die in the back seat.
But then why are you going and killing random dogs? That's really what I'm concerned about is the dogs.
Yeah, and then why did you
and a cow
do human?
What does a cow got to do with it?
No, horses
and
a
horse
donkey.
and donkeys.
So why did you start off with humans, go to animals, and then go back to humans? Like, you're
This
right, it
dude
was
is-
backwards. They were just
This is
bored.
why nobody wants to
and they
talk
were
about
just
you
playing-
because you're stupid and you're annoying.
And it doesn't make sense.
And
Like,
at least have some
well,
kind of like
target practice.
consistency. You have no consistency. We don't want to talk about you.
yeah. It's like they were just, it's target practice. Like, it was just fun.
Yeah. You could do that with like a can instead of a dog. Just shoot a can.
Gosh. I mean, the cat, I'm not mad about the cat, but everything else. Everything else I'm mad about. Damn it.
He's probably from Utah, so.
Yeah. Yes. I forgot where his city is from. Wisconsin? No.
I'm going to go with
I
Utah.
forgot.
I'm going to go
Probably.
with Utah.
Probably.
It's close.
Okay, that is it. There's
Good
your serial killer
story.
story. And we'll never talk about him again because...
Because he's trash.
Mm-hmm.
And he did. Yep.
All right, we will see y'all next week for a quickie and for a full episode. And real soon for Dirty Chad. Possibly just another bonus episode we'll put on Patreon. Caroline, have you... I told everybody what I am over. Like, I'm over Elf on the Shelf. Are you over anything right now? Does anything like just piss you off, or that you're just over it in life that you think others should know?
I'm over that I continue to find holes in my socks. I think it's time for new socks.
New socks?
Mm-hmm.
Do you walk in your socks a
they're
lot?
in the heels. They're in the back.
From running, yeah.
So
it happens a lot when you run.
Now I'm like, how many freaking pairs of socks do I have with holes in them, and why do I not have new socks?
But do you run heel to toe when you
I
run
don't
or
know.
walk?
I barely run, but so I don't. I think they're just old.
Or do you have a heel strike?
No, I don't know.
I'm gonna watch you walk. You might have a heel strike. When I used to run a lot,
think
I
it's
would
just
have a
old
heel
socks.
strike. Well, but and it also causes more friction right there, so it's
But it's
easier
in the-
to tear.
Yeah. See, so I have to take up a beef with
Collection.
the sock creator agency.
Caroline's had it with holes in her socks.
I've had it with holes in my socks.
We need you to get some socks in your stocking this year.
I know. So Santa out there, Elf on the Shelf, can somebody on their Elf on the Shelf bring their elf to me and leave me some socks?
I've kind of had it with Santa too, but it's okay. I won't even go on that one. All right, y'all. We will see y'all next week. And tell us. I've found a new podcast called I've Had It, and that's why it's in my head. It's the I've Had It podcast. Go listen to them. They're hilarious. And that's why I was asking Caroline that.
Okay, I'll come up with some better ideas of what I could be tired of. Because apparently I had a good week, so I don't know.
All right. We'll see y'all next week. Don't forget to
Stay aware.
stay alive.
And always be DTF.
Bye, y'all.
Bye. Boop, boop.
Hey, I'm Blair.
And I'm Brittany. And we're the host of
By the Cover Podcast.
We cover everything from mysteries, thrillers, romance, chick lit, and even some smut.
Don't forget the smut.
Yeah.
We're so excited to get this thing going and share this with you guys. We've been talking about this for months, and it's finally happening.
Yes.
Special shout out to Rogue Media for helping us with this.
For sure. For sure. You can find us on Instagram at bythecover_podcast.
You can also find us on Facebook and TikTok, so don't forget to give us a follow on those too also.
And we are so excited to dive into some of our favorite books and share those with you.
We can't wait. Hope you love it.
Hi, and welcome to Bustles and Bangers with your hostess, Rachel and Christopher.
I love it when you say my name.
And you didn't say hi.
I didn't. You just kept going. I'm going to introduce the book. I'm not reading it.
It's
because I don't like reading.
girls like cowboy butts, and those jeans don't hide anything. Find us on Instagram at Bustles and Bangers or on RogueMediaNetwork.com.
Hey, I'm Katie. And I'm Summer. And this is Monsters in the Attic. So we thought we'd bring people on. Yeah.
It's very real, and we're fortunate to have a lot of friends who have a lot of monsters, and we can't wait to share them with you.
I love that we're so fortunate that we have so many friends with so many monsters. Where can people find us?
Facebook Instagram, and everywhere they listen to their favorite podcast.
They can find me at my therapist office.
As they should.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.